Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Amazing Race Rewind podcast, the podcast where we rewind back in time to watch the earliest seasons of The Amazing Race for the first time. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Jill.
And we're here today to talk about Season 2, Episode 4.
Yes. This was, I think in my opinion, I wanted to see what you thought about this. It felt like the most real Amazing Race episode. Like, there was a bit of everything. It wasn't so centralized on one thing. There was good travel, there was good tasks, there was good bit of team interaction. What do you think?
By real, do you mean modern as in what we're used to, or do you mean raw?
Maybe modern is more what I'm getting at, but it just felt like, often I think when we've talked about episodes in the past, we've been able to kind of bookmark it as this episode was about really bad tasks, this episode was chaotic, this episode was just all travel, whereas this one felt kind of like it incorporated everything.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel very neutral about this episode. It's just kind of like an average run-of-the-mill episode for me. It didn't do anything great, didn't do anything horrible. I didn't really have any strong opinions about it. It was Season 2, Episode 4.
Interesting. I definitely felt like it was a pretty solid episode.
Okay, I mean, for me, the first 25 minutes or so were very slow. I thought it was very slow. And then also, it's very predictable with the way they had the two flights, and that I did not like at all. But we will get into that, because I want to go off on that.
That is true. However, I will say, my note, literally, quite literally, my note written down is, I would argue this is one of the best episodes of the series so far.
Oh!
Looking back, would I make that statement, now that you've brought up that point? It's definitely up there, though. I would definitely say it's up there for me.
Okay, and I was saying, out of the season, I would say it's one of the worst. So some different opinions. I think I really liked episode 2 and 3. I think those were good episodes. Episode 1 was fine too, but I don't know. This one, it didn't really do much for me.
And I said series too, not just season.
I know, yeah. So I'm saying it's not even clearing the best of the season so far, and we're only at 4.
Wow. Okay.
Episodes in total.
Well, shall we get into it?
We shall get right into it. So we start this episode a little bit unconventionally, where we get a look into what's going on during the 24-hour rest period at the pit stop. And there is some drama. Some people are drinking, and there's apparently some vulgar language, and a fight between Will and Chris and Alex. We don't really hear much of what's going on or what they're saying, but apparently it's a little bit brutal.
It seems alcohol-induced is how I would describe it.
Yeah. And I want to see what's going on. Let me see what's going on. They're telling us about it, but we don't know what the actual issue is about. And we also get a little sneak peek of Tara and Alex having a little bit of a showmance here.
Well, because they had done the one task together, remember? And they did the away or the side interviews, had them speaking a little bit endearingly towards one another, should I say?
Yeah.
Is there something brewing?
Well, I mean, it looked like they were kissing or in an intimate setting alone.
It looked like they were shoved in a back corner and the camera just caught them. Very almost stereotypical, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was talking about during the Roblox in episode 2, I was thinking, post-season thing, but it looks like they're getting it going while they're on the show.
Let's talk about that as a concept. Not them specifically, but just that as a concept. Is that a smart decision?
To hook up with somebody.
Your personal opinion. Is that something you think would be a good idea? Because it jeopardizes a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just a distraction, if anything, and it just puts too much personal feelings, I guess, but if you can't help it, you can't help it, I suppose. I don't know. It's something that I wouldn't be a fan of.
It takes you out of the game. You're not as serious. You're not as focused.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I thought this was also very odd. People hooking up on The Amazing Race, I didn't see that coming at all. And also the fact that they get to interact with each other, which I feel like is just not a thing that happens at all today.
That's true. I don't know. I mean,
in this way.
Yeah. Either that or they just don't broadcast it as much anymore.
But why wouldn't they?
That is true. I know, maybe it's just not as juicy.
I guess so. I don't know.
They put this in a segment of clips that were all very drama heavy, or quote unquote drama heavy. They were trying to make it seem like the pit stop had been quite tumultuous.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden The Amazing Race turned into Jersey Shore or something for 2 minutes. It's all of a sudden we're in the Jersey Shore house.
But yeah, that was it. Don't get me wrong, it had entertainment value, but it was an interesting choice to keep in the episode.
Yeah, and especially since they didn't exactly tell us what was going on, but Yeah, I thought it was kind of a cool look into almost behind the scenes.
Basically, yeah. Anyway, so that's all before the leg is starting. It's probably at dinner the night before. But let's get on to the actual race.
Yes. So the first team to depart is Oswald and Danny at 2:52 a.m., which, funnily enough, Tara and Will, and then also Gary and Dave also depart at 2:52 a.m.
Huh.
So they were all departing like pretty much at the exact same time. They were extremely close, and they are told to take a charter flight to Walvis Bay, Namibia. So on the way to Namibia, there are two charter flights which are 3 hours apart, which is a considerable amount of time. So there are 4 teams on the first flight, 4 teams on the second flight. And I do not like this for a variety of reasons. One, it makes the race very predictable because we know that there's pretty much a 90% or higher chance that one of these teams on the second plane will be eliminated. And it alleviates the pressure from the teams on the first plane, which a lot of the drama or like conflict in the show comes from the pressure of the race. And when you know that you're 3 hours ahead of other teams, it alleviates a lot of that pressure. And then also, lastly, it creates a greater divide between the teams on the top and the teams on the bottom, and it doesn't allow the teams who are behind to catch up, not in just this leg, but in further legs. So I didn't like this. Like 3 hours is a lot of time.
And this is something I feel like I don't know how much is, because this is a common thing in all versions of the show now, is they have specific flights you can be on. And this is again in contrast to last leg, even where they were kind of given a free-for-all, book your flights. I almost prefer, I know last season, because that's how it was all of last season, it was free-for-all, do what you gotta do. And I probably said something about I didn't like this, but I actually might prefer that now, because the thing is, you knew which teams were booking which flights, but they weren't actually able to tell who would get there first or who would get there faster. And I feel like it was a lot more luck of the draw.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot more fun to watch now, because it's like you said, with this, okay, you know that one of those top 4 teams is going to be the winner of this leg. They're going to be safe probably for the next episode. And someone in that second plane is going to be eliminated.
Yeah. And like even last episode, when teams were flying to, where were we? South Africa, they had a lot more agency in being able to choose their flights. And you could say that Gutsy Grannies got eliminated because they weren't competent enough with booking their flights. Whereas here, it's pretty much just dependent on how you did in the previous leg, which I don't like. I think there should always be an opportunity for the placements to switch or for people at the bottom to come back. And that's not happening with these flights.
It's like you're saying, it doesn't matter the type of tasks they put out for those top 4 teams. They have a 3-hour advantage. Chances are they're going to be able to almost finish those tasks by the time the other flight gets there.
Well, and especially for the tasks in these early seasons where a lot of them, it's very easy to move through them quickly. They don't take a lot of skill. They don't take a lot of time. So, yeah. So, that's it for that big rambling mess about why we didn't like that.
I will add, it's from Danny and Oswald. I forget who, but one of them is suffering from muscle pain. Am I correct?
Yes, in his foot.
Do you remember who it was?
I don't remember who it was.
Okay. Well, one of them is suffering from muscle pain in his foot, and I mean, they're in a good spot, to be honest. They're in first, but I feel like to have a physical injury or issue in your foot or leg on The Amazing Race is the worst possible thing, because if it comes down to a sprint, you are at a disadvantage.
You're over.
I know, but the first couple teams actually are kind of playing it smart, and they're pooling their money for a cab.
Yeah, which we haven't, I don't think we've seen this before.
No,
but I like this.
It's smart, yeah. I don't know why no one's thought to do it before.
So yeah, Taryn, Will, Danny, and Oswald, and Gary and Dave, since they're all pretty much departing at the same time, they share a taxi to the airport, which somehow I feel like this wouldn't be allowed. Like, I feel like the producers wouldn't like this.
I don't think it wouldn't be allowed. I mean, you're doing what you got to do. You're playing within the rules of the game, and it's like an alliance. If you want to make that connection, why not?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So the next team to depart are Mary and Peach at 5:56 a.m. They're about 3 hours after the first 3 teams who departed. And then after that, Blake and Paige, and then the twins are leaving at 6:02 a.m. Chris and Alex at 8:20, and Cindy and Russell at 8:51. So we do see those divides, what we were talking about last episode.
And what I find funny about the second half of teams, obviously because they know they're vying to get there to be on that first flight. And again, this is something I feel like either no one thought of before or it wasn't done last season, is some of them are telling their taxi drivers, oh, if you get there before that guy, I'll pay you 100 extra, whatever the currency is. I'm like,
Yeah, like we're using bribery. I think it was Blake who did that, which again, that's a hunger to win, resourcefulness, outside of the box thinking. It's what I like to see. But I feel like this wouldn't be allowed. I feel like you shouldn't be able to bribe your taxi driver.
It's a fine line. It's, to me, it's not buying a phone, but it's it's worse than, I'd say, pooling money for a cab.
Yeah, it is. I feel like it's a little bit hairy, and I feel like that could
Hairy?
initiate a rule change. I don't know why I said that.
Is that? I am not aware of this phrase.
It's a little bit hairy. Like, it's a little bit iffy. It's a little bit fuzzy.
Sorry, I have to Google that. I just
Yeah, right here.
stressful
Alarming.
or nervous. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Where did you pick that up?
I think I just heard it somewhere. I didn't even think about it. It just came out of my brain.
Interesting.
I just regurgitated it.
Oh,
Word of the day,
expanding our
Harry.
vocabulary on the Amazing Race Rewind.
Yeah, that's what we're here to do. So yes, all those teams are fighting for the last spot on the first plane, and ultimately Mary and Peach are the ones who get there first. So on the first plane, it is Mary and Peach, Will and Tara, Gary and Dave, and then Oswald and Danny.
Yes. And then, like you said, this kind of sets the tone for where the rest of the episode will go.
Right. So they're taking their charter plane to Namibia, and they're really emphasizing that there's nothing there. Like, this airport is in the middle of the desert with no sight of civilization, it seems.
Someone says it's, yeah, like there's not a settlement around or something.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting, though.
So then, as they got off the plane, there's a mad dash here for taxis. And one thing that I thought was interesting is that people were trying to rent a car, which is something we haven't seen, but they were unable to do so because they didn't have a credit card.
Which I feel like is probably intentional on the show's behalf and why they give them cash, because I feel like renting a car when it's not explicitly stated that you are supposed to drive yourself somewhere takes away from kind of the point, or might make it more difficult for the production to track or be accountable of a team.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that could also be, there could be some liabilities with that, probably, with having teams rent out cars. But who knows? And then we have another case of Oswald and Danny getting something for being polite and calm, which I know you're gritting from ear to ear about.
I knew that you would know that I would love that. I did make a note of that, of course, but it shows because it's so true.
Yeah.
So what happens is basically all these teams are trying to get a cab, and they're kind of frantically running around. They're, as we see on The Amazing Race, they're in a hurry. And Oswald and Danny, with their polite and calm and chill demeanor, kind of walk up to, it's just a booth or a kiosk or a store in the airport. And they just kind of play. Oh, no, sorry. It's the car rental place.
It was Avis. Yeah.
It was Avis. And, you know, it was, as Andrew mentioned, they're trying to rent a car, but they can't because they don't have a credit card. But because of their polite demeanor, the woman says, well, I can have one of my guys drive you. And they were like, oh, really? Thank you so much. How much will it be? And she's just kind of like, whatever you were going to pay him. Like, very nonchalant. But it works.
Just so casual. Yeah.
And to my point, everyone else goes to, I think, a store or something where cabs are phoned for them.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Oswald and Danny for a second. This team, they are so incredibly relaxed and level-headed. Like, it's crazy. I think, like, they could be relaxed to their detriment because they have such a lack of urgency. And I don't know if it's apathy, but they're just, like, so not, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Like,
stressed?
frenetic.
Yeah. Well,
or stressed at all. They're just like, okay, yeah, here we go.
Did they say they were from Miami in the preamble?
I have no idea where they're from.
I don't know. Never mind. I was going to say, like, if Miami, that would make sense for their attitudes, but I can't quite remember.
Oh. I don't know people from Miami were known for being calm.
You're in a beach city. You're chill.
Okay.
You know the Will Smith song, Miami? No?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay.
Will Smith?
Yeah.
No, I'm not aware.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, how does it go?
I'm not going to sing it.
Okay. Well, but as you mentioned, everybody else goes to a store or some other place for taxis. And this lady who's working there, she just has it down. She's just organizing everything for everybody. She's taking it very seriously. Everybody's getting taxis. And she's handling kind of the stress that everybody's coming at her with.
Literally, because they're running up to her, like, I need a cab. Like, palms down on the desk. And she's just like, okay.
And here comes Gary. When he tries to get a taxi, he kills me. He's so awkward. So he's asking the lady how they can get to the town, and she says she can arrange a taxi, to which he replies with, "Oh, how civilized." It's like, I don't even, can we unpack this? Well, what prompts somebody to say that as a response?
The thing is, I don't understand where he's coming from. Is it the fact that she's just so on top of this and so, like, willing to help in that sense? Because I feel like on The Amazing Race, you probably would just get a lot of people kind of telling you to, get out of here.
But yeah, maybe because she was just so graceful with it. I don't know. And then he continues and says, "Okay, so let's get it on." And it's in, like, the most awkward, bumbling way. It's so strange. And also, might I add, Gary seems to be the Rob of his team, where I don't think we've really heard anything from Dave. The Rob. Where, like, Rob was the one always getting the screen time and the sound bites and everything, and Brennan was just kind of silent.
I thought you
feel like
rock.
Gary... No. Yeah, he is a rock. No. But Gary seems to be kind of the more dominant one of Gary and Dave, because I haven't really heard Dave speak much at all.
That's true. But I mean, like you said, Gary is giving some interesting sound bites.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't get it at first. I think it just wasn't for me. But now I might be understanding what their character is.
Yeah.
It's clicking.
You didn't get their edit roll right off the bat?
No, I did, but I just didn't, like, understand the humor.
It's a dry humor. I just thought it was
stupid. Yeah, and I still think it's stupid, but now I can, like, kind of appreciate the stupidness,
You're not a fan of dry humor?
No, I am. I said I appreciate it.
Okay.
But I don't even know if this was intentional humor. Maybe that's part of it, because it just might be how he is.
That's fair. Anyway, we can unpack that for a long time, but we got to keep this show on the road, pun intended.
Yes.
That's a really good pun for The Amazing Race.
Show on the road, yeah. So, like you said earlier, one of not you absolutely killing yourself with that one. Wow.
Sorry. Whew.
So, as you mentioned before, one of Oswald and Danny have soreness in his foot or are having issues with his foot, so they just decide, you know what, let's just do the fast forward, let's skip this leg.
But they decide that after the lighthouse, do they not?
Oh, do they?
They open that at the lighthouse, I think, because they drive themselves.
Oh, okay.
So we should add, so the teams who, once they get to the airport, they are instructed to, however they can, get to, what is the name of the lighthouse again? Sorry, where are my notes?
I don't know. I don't have it written down. I just say a lighthouse.
Yes, there's a lighthouse in the town. It's pretty straightforward. Climb up to the top of the lighthouse.
Oh, it's called, the town is called Swackup. I'm not going to say that right.
Yeah.
But, okay. Anyway.
So they have to climb the lighthouse, the clue box at the top, and then the clue box for the teams not choosing the fast forward instructs them to look for their car, which is pretty easy to see from the top of the lighthouse. It's just parked near the water. And then teams, again, not doing the fast forward, there's clue on the dashboard, and they drive themselves. Oswald and Danny decide, because of the foot injury, they're going to go for the fast forward, which to me, they still haven't quite got the idea of a fast forward down 100% of the time, because in Brazil we had the volleyball task. This one is quite literally find a hotel, walk to the center of it where there's a pool where there used to be railroad tracks, jump in the pool, and the clue is just like on a pole in the middle of the pool. Like, it's so easy to obtain.
Is it a pool or is it a fountain? It looks like a fountain.
It looks like a pool though, because when both of them go in, and like when the other team, who, spoiler, goes in, it's like waist deep. Yeah. I think it's a pool. But okay. I don't know. Either way, it's just kind of a weird... It's still not a great fast-forward task. It's there's like, Phil says, because, spoiler, Oswald and Danny do get the fast-forward. He's like, Oswald and Danny have won the fast-forward. And I'm like... Yeah,
it's like they didn't win.
They're not winning it.
I guess they won in the sense that they got there first, so that's a win.
Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't... It's just, you've obtained it. You didn't win it. Like, the volleyball task, that's winning the fast-forward.
They did win, yes.
But anyway.
So would you prefer it to be more like the fast forward? Would you prefer them to be more like the volleyball tasks?
Yes, because then you could have two teams there, and it's like a face off. Yeah. Well, it's not face off, sorry, but it's
different thing.
It's that pressure, whereas here it's first come first serve.
I agree. Yeah, and we had that great moment last season with Nancy and Emily and the Guidos, because it was that kind of face off sort of a deal.
Exactly. But anyway, so for the teams who don't take the fast forward, they, like I said, spot the cars from the lighthouse, go to them, And now this was an interesting thing I noticed before we even tell you what they do, is they have to self-drive. But the instructions state that a local driver will take over the wheel after 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be driving out into the desert. And I just laugh because I think this is a direct caution to the Paul and Amy situation.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely implemented that because of the Paul and Amy situation.
Which is so smart, because that was such a stupid... I'm going to be real. It was a stupid idea. Like, let's send a bunch of people who don't know where they're going. Some of them can't read maps. And let's send them out to the desert to just drive around for hours.
Yeah, and also with this driving, it didn't seem like they were just driving in the middle of nowhere. It seemed like there was a little bit more...
Civilization,
and it didn't seem as difficult where teams were just kind of driving aimlessly. There seemed to be, like, a little bit more intuitive.
Yeah. I think that's too what... maybe last season didn't account for as much when giving directions or maps or stuff that I feel like you have to account for is the way the TV show is set up is it's such high stakes and high stress. And when you're in that situation, you're not as good at tasks at mental tasks, or typically most people aren't as sharp as they would be in a normal situation. So although maybe, the desert task last season to a person who wasn't under the stress of the show would be very easy to complete, it probably wasn't, because that leg, like you said, was crazy. Like, people were it was everywhere. I don't know, just a thought. But do you want to talk about where they have to go?
Yes. Well, I'm just going to wrap up the fast forward. So also Mary and Peach, they go for the fast forward. And I just want to mention this because I think it's kind of stupid, that when they decide they're going for the fast forward, they're like talking back and forth. And then there's like this horrible splice together audio clip that they have of one of them saying, "Let's do the fast forward," because it's like the audio quality totally changes from what the dialogue was before, and there's like an echo, and it sounds like it was filmed in a hotel room or something. But they go for the fast forward after Danny and Oswald already got it, so they just have to continue going on the rest of the leg with wet clothes for whoever decided to do that, because I feel like that would be miserable.
Because she jumped in the pool. But hey, that's the name of the game.
Yeah. They have to drive themselves, the teams who don't go the fast forward, they have to drive themselves to the base of a sand dune, which is known as the Matterhorn, and then they have to hike up to get their next clue. So yeah, meanwhile, Danny and Oswald, they're on their way to the pit stop, and teams climb up to the sand dune, and we get to a... detour.
I also just have to add, though, I loved this. I thought the sand dune was so cool, just as a concept. I know some of the teams... Mary and Peach, one of them is sick. I know some of the other teams weren't feeling great. But as a concept, I just think it's so cool. And that leads into a detour, which, if you've been with us, if you know us...
It's a stupid detour.
I shouldn't say it's stupid in the sense... The one task that everyone chose, it was fun. It was actually really good. But the other one... It
was fun.
Come on. So it's... What is it? Yeah. Slide or...
I didn't even write it down.
I didn't write down the other option.
No point.
The other option, it's so you open a clue at the top of the sand dune. It's like you walk down, and it takes longer to walk down, but it's less risky. Or the other option, which you and I would easily do, it's slide, which looks like so much fun.
Yeah. It's literally just tobogganing down a sand dune on a crazy carpet. That's what it is.
Two Canadian kids, but yeah, no, it's alright. It's basically you sit on a crazy carpet. And you slide down at, I think they said, reaching speeds of 15 miles per hour.
I thought they said 50.
Andrew, do you know how fast 50 miles per hour is?
I know, but I thought they said it was like extremely fast.
It's like 80 kilometers an hour.
No, I swore they said 50.
Andrew, I think it's 15.
Okay, well, I swore it was 50.
You thought they were going 80 kilometers an hour down that.
Well, I thought it was a pretty steep hill.
15 is like 30.
Yeah, but I thought they were going quick.
I don't know. Maybe you're right, but going 80 kilometers an hour down that thing seems like a lot.
Despite how fast it is, it's a stupid detour. Like the sliding down the hill isn't even. It doesn't seem scary to me. Like, I see there could be risk in it, but you're not jumping off a cliff. Everybody's going to choose that. You know what they should have done? They should have just made it like a regular task. Let's not call it a detour because we know everybody's going to do this anyway. And if it was a regular task, I think we would be sitting here clapping and cheering and talking about how amazing it was. But instead, we're doing this. We're beating the same old drum that we do every single week on this podcast, and I'm sick of it.
You're done.
I'm done.
I'm sick of it, you really said.
And also, speaking of being sick of things, Tara and Will are starting to get a little bit sick of each other because they're totally like bickering on the way up the sand dune. They're like calling each other names and stuff.
Will does say to her, doesn't he? He's like, I'm paying you to do this. And she's like, you're paying me? She's like, yeah, I'm paying you $500,000 if you win this thing, which, good mindset, not a great time to bring that up. But anyway, the slide task is great. Everyone looks like they're having a lot of fun. My only comments are, I would definitely want goggles and a face covering because I feel like you would just get sand everywhere.
Yeah.
What's that? Like, it's like that Star Wars quote, you know?
I don't know. But you're getting sand in every crevice, and you're going to be... the shower afterward, I know, is going to feel great.
You don't know this? It's like the Star Wars quote from the prequels, where it's...
Maybe once you say it, I'll recognize.
It's like Anakin. He's like, I hate sand. He's like, it's coarse. Here, I just Googled it. It's coarse, it's rough, and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Well, yes, yeah.
And I don't like sand. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry to...
Well, I'm sure...
The Star Wars buffs would come after me for that. But you know what? I love Star Wars, so it's okay.
There's a big crossover between Star Wars and Amazing Race fans, so that's very
Last season in El Gem. Anyway, everyone chooses slide, no difficulty, everyone has fun, and we're moving on.
And at about this point in the episode, the second flight arrives to Namibia, and everybody gets a taxi immediately, which seems to be pretty lucky, except for Chris and Alex. And this it takes Chris and Alex about an hour to get a taxi, so it puts them behind by quite a bit here.
Because they call on the phone, whereas everybody else does what the previous teams did, which is go to that woman in the booth.
Yes.
And on the second flight, we should just outline Chris and Alex, Shola and Dwayne, Cindy and Russell, and...
Blake and Paige.
Yes, Blake and Paige.
So teams are they go to the lighthouse and then they have to drive themselves. And something here that we learn is that Shola and Dwayne, they cannot drive a stick shift.
Yes.
Which is not good at all.
Not only are they not good at driving stick, but you're driving on the opposite side of the road than what they're used to. I wanted to ask you, do you think stick would be our downfall?
I mean, I think now that we have like so much knowledge of the show, and I feel like that is a thing that you should learn before you go on. I think I would make a point to learn how before going on, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've never driven stick. I've driven quite a bit in a car that is stick, like in the passenger seat, and I've had it explained to me while driving. So I understand, like I've never practiced it, but I understand the procedure. I understand what it's doing. And so I feel like I would pretty quickly be able to figure it out. But that being said, I just don't have experience. Yeah,
and that's one of those things where we know now with having all this extensive backlog that that's something that you need to learn before you go on the show, whereas this was only season 2 and that was never highlighted last season. So how were the twins supposed to know that this was something that they should learn before they go on the
exactly
race?
But it makes sense, you know, especially in like a sandy what's the word, terrain. You would want like stick shift.
Yes. So so they're struggling with that, and everybody goes and does the tobogganing detour or whatever. And then afterward, they have to make their way to Spitzkopje or something, however you say that, where they have to find a general dealer and then ask for the postcard of the day.
And the general dealer is basically the general store. And then the postcard sends them to kind of this outdoor wood carving market.
Yes.
Which is very cool. But this task at the wood carving market, it's a roadblock. And what is the clue? Someone has to know their animals.
Yeah.
No matter who did it, you or me, I think it would be our downfall because it's about bargaining.
Yes, but with that being said, this did not seem to be hard at all. And I think
That's true.
I think who was doing it? It was Peach. She didn't seem to do any bartering. They were just like, this costs 70. And she said, okay, this costs this. She said, okay. So I don't think it was that huge of a deal. And then, we didn't explain what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, what the detour is or the roadblock, sorry. Whoever is doing it, they have to bargain with the people in the market and get one of each of 5 animals which are, I don't remember what they are, but they're all African animals.
And then the big prize winner is this massive, literally
Giraffe.
massive giraffe that they have to take with them after.
Yeah. So we first see Tara do it, and she does this in about like 3 seconds. It's like a very short clip of her just kind of bartering with these people, and then she completes it. And the thing is, this market is very small, and to me, it feels almost a little bit more inauthentic than if they were to do it at a big market, because obviously the producers would have talked to these people and they know exactly what they're getting into, and they know like, okay, these are Americans, they're on a reality TV show, they're gonna have to be doing this. So I think it kind of takes away from the authenticity of a task. Like similar to this, that would happen in a giant market, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that we kind of had a market task last episode, so that's probably what they were trying to avoid, 2 in a row. And I think this one was just a lot more focused on probably the wood carvings themselves than the market atmosphere. Had they not gone to a market in South Africa last episode, they might have done it differently this episode, but I think they were just trying to avoid that.
Yeah. But with that being said, it still was a cool task, and I like the concept. I thought it was where you have to like bargain with the people at the market. I thought that was very cool.
You know, it was good. But again, so they complete it, and then how tall do you think that giraffe is? Like 5 feet tall?
Yes.
It's this massive wooden giraffe. But basically they have to shove this giraffe in the back of their Jeeps or their Toyota, whatever their trucks.
Yeah.
And from here they go to the pit stop, correct?
Yes. So something that happens when Tara and Will are leaving the roadblock, or Gary and Dave show up, and here we have some shenanigans, a great interaction. Will's saying something like, oh, there's no way you got here so fast, like you were speeding, and they're kind of going back and forth. And then...
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
And then Gary just walks over to the car and says, you're going down. It's like, this is so not serious. It's like, he kills me.
And he fully kind of in like, you know that like really bad quality videos people take from their car windows when there's like drama with other cars?
Yes.
Because he's like standing beside the passenger door while the windows are like rolled up and the car is driving out, and he does the full like finger point to them, like one finger extended. You're going down. It's
so like kids show. It's like a Disney Channel show. There's you're going down. You know, that's what it feels like to me. Or like a Disney Channel, like I don't know,
High School Musical, Camp Rock. So at this point, the teams who are on the first flight are kind of starting to check. I mean, Danny and Oswald have checked in. They're good to go. They've won the leg, predictably so. They had the fast forward. And like we said, these other teams are kind of wrapping up the roadblock without any difficulty, and they're on their way to the pit stop.
Yeah, and at this point, we're kind of thinking Chris and Alex are behind because they had that issue getting taxis, but then we see them arrive to the dune, and Shola and Dwayne are nowhere to be found. And we see Shola and Dwayne, they're having a whole slew of difficulties with getting their car stuck in the desert. They don't know how to drive. And I thought they were toast. I felt so bad for them when they got stuck in seemingly the middle of nowhere, but there were some locals around.
Yeah, because what happens is obviously they've driven off the road a little bit, and one of their tires got really stuck in the sand, and they've obviously just kind of kept stepping on the gas, which you should know if you're ever in snow or sand. You don't, because it just digs your tire a further rut because it can't grip on anything. So they've literally dug themselves a hole they can't get out of.
Well, they could get out of.
Yeah, and so thankfully, like you said, some of the locals that pass by have a truck and they pull them out. But this does all of a sudden shift the tone of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so another thing is the dune closes. We learned that the dune closes at 7:45. And then there's just like a shot of the clock in the car, and where it's like 7:39. It's like they're probably not going to make it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then just back to when Danny and Oswald, when they check in, they're talking about his foot. But I'm still thinking about the twin with the Achilles tendon that got run over by a car. Whatever happened to that? That just healed overnight, or what?
I feel like there would have been like a medical checkout. Maybe just like a tensor bandage or something put on it. Some Advil.
Yeah, and keep going.
Well, it's one of the twins at the start of the episode, isn't it, that says it's kind of become eat or be eaten?
Yeah, I guess so. We're getting to that point on episode 4, I
know. That was the only quote I really picked up from the episode.
See, I didn't even pick up on that. So it's like you said, Oswald and Danny are on first. And then Gary and Dave are coming in second here.
These are two teams who, right off the bat, I was very neutral to and very indifferent. Not that that's changed, but just, they've really come from behind.
Well, and Gary and Dave, I thought they were going to be the first ones out.
You did say they gave you first boot energy.
I did say that. That was a quote from me, myself. But they're still here, and they've been at the top these past couple of episodes.
They're here to win. They're here to win business.
Could you imagine a Gary and Dave? Like, I just cannot fathom in my wildest dreams them being the winners of The Amazing Race Season 2. Like, that's not my reality.
I'm going to be blatant with you, and, maybe if I'm completely wrong, you can get back at me for my Rob and Brendan gloating last season, but I don't see them winning.
No, there's no way. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no world where I see them winning. And we cut to Chris, who's doing the roadblock, and he's having a great time with this. I love to see it because they probably think that they're in the back, but he's still like very high energy. He's having a lot of fun with this, and he's just appreciating what he's doing, despite the fact that they're in their minds they probably think that they're in last because they don't know what's going on with the twins here.
I feel like that's a difficult position to be in, to keep your spirits up, but you still have that little glimmer of hope because you never know for sure.
Right. So Tara and Will are in third place here, and there's a little bit of controversy. I don't even know if this is controversy, where Blake and Paige and Mary and Peach pretty much arrive at the pit stop at the same time, but Blake and Paige seem to find a shortcut and cut through the bush or something and not take the path that Mary and Peach thought you were supposed to take. And Mary and Peach weren't very pleased about this, which I'm confused about, because to me, Blake and Paige, they were just being savvy.
It's, again, what did the clue say? Did the clue say you have to walk on the path to the pit stop? Was there a sign at the start of the trail? I mean, actually, there probably was, like, please stay on the path. But I feel like that's the thing, too, now. Phil is there at the mat, so it's probably a lot more awkward, because he doesn't probably want to police that. Mm-hmm. Even if he has a thought of, should I admit these people as first or second? I don't know.
Yeah. But in any event, Blake and Paige do come in fourth and Mary and Peach are in fifth. But, like, does it really matter what place they're in? Because they're only beating them by, 30 seconds by taking this path.
Exactly.
So,
you're gonna start at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cindy and Russell are in sixth. Chris and Alex are in seventh.
Surprisingly.
Very surprisingly. And one of them actually goes up and hugs Phil, which we love to see.
Phil, like, you can tell he's still getting used to it. He's still, getting used to the hosting thing because he just seems so rigid.
He is rigid.
And when the one from Chris and Alex goes to hug him, it just looks like, in those movies where it's like the really like warm-hearted children have like icy cold, usually like rich parents. That's the kind of hug it looks like.
Yeah, it was just like not reciprocated at all.
Yeah, like he's unsure of what to do.
So Chris and Alex live another day,
and very surprisingly,
Shola and Dwayne are eliminated here.
Yeah, that was, wow.
I feel like
not expecting that.
Yeah, I feel like they just let them skip the tasks here because I feel like they weren't going to make them wait a whole another day. So I feel like they just pretty much took them directly to the pit stop because that would be not ideal if they were to have to wait another day and then the production would be behind and everything,
Not even production's behind, but then you're unnecessarily tracking this other team when it's easier for them to just get it done now.
Yeah.
But yeah, a surprise elimination there.
Yeah, Martine loved them.
Her 1 and 2 teams were taken out like that. Bang bang.
They really were. She was a bad omen for them or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not overly sad that they were eliminated. Like, they really didn't do that much for me. I thought they were fine.
They were a good team, and they definitely had potential. I'm surprised they're eliminated now, but it's not world ending.
No, it was not a Dave and Margareta or Gutsy Granny elimination here.
That being said, I feel like they're almost too positive to keep around because, like, the teams that are kind of now, they've all got more. I'm not speaking badly about any teams, but they've got kind of more of that like snarky American reality TV show entertainment value like they can put on that personality and they're playing the cameras in that way.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the teams that are remaining and I think they all have something going for them. There's not really a dud in here per se.
No, it's going to be interesting. And preview for next week's episode, we're going back to Bangkok.
Yeah, first time repeating a location.
And last season some stuff went down there. There like bit of a showdown there, or I should say Thailand was quite the location for people. We had the Guidos and the whole Nancy and Emily thing with the fast forward. In the, what did you call it? A dinner table discussion, a round table discussion, elimination?
Yeah, family meeting is what it was.
Yeah, so I feel like it's promising.
We'll see. Return to Bangkok, season 2.
And not only that, but we are joined by a guest next week, so...
Oh my god,
you
yeah.
know.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
we shall see you then. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram at Amazing Race Rewind, or you can send us an email with any questions, suggestions, etc. at amazingracerewind@gmail.com.
Andrew has gone above and beyond with the Instagram content. If you know, you know. If you're a true fan and you've followed us on Instagram, you'll have seen the vision that he has created to introduce Martine, who was our first guest.
For episode 2, yeah.
Will this be repeated? I don't know, but...
we'll see if I have the time or motivation, but we'll see.
You did message me saying that it was a vision that came to you.
Yeah, so we'll see if I have the same vision.
After next week's episode.
Yes.
But I highly recommend you go, like Andrew said, follow us, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you guys, and we love collecting behind-the-scenes bonus content. It's honestly become such a valuable pastime for us.
How is it valuable? Like, how are we going to use this?
A, we're gaining knowledge and fun facts about the world.
Sure.
B, we're gaining an insight to the industry. And
okay.
C, we're preparing ourselves for if we ever go on the race.
Okay. Wow, you had that locked and loaded in your arsenal, those points to back that up.
I was here with the facts and the evidence.
Yeah.
Let me write the essay. I will give you the thesis. So tired. Oh, that was so bad. I'm so tired.
That sounded like a really bad rap battle thing. Like, put me in the essay. I'll give you a thesis. Okay, I think we should just end this.
Just cut that. Much.
I'm keeping it in. Okay.
No.
We'll see you guys next week for episode 5.
Yes, and we're very excited for next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.